Welcome to the Quiet Gym, where the game is broken down one possession, one adjustment, one idea at a time. A place where basketball is studied, not shouted about. Before we get started, today's episode is brought to you by Rock Bottom Reset, helping people rebuild discipline, confidence, and purpose one day at a time. Visit rockbottomreset.com to learn more. And now, here's your host, Wyatt Prater.
Welcome back to the gym. I'm Wyatt, joined again with Resto. Today, we have two segments, one by me and one by you. I just noticed that today we're wearing shirts that contradict each other. Western Conference, Eastern Conference. This could be the finals.
This is Sabonis.
But I'm still saying, like, Pacers, Spurs. This could be
next year.
It could be. That would be lit, bro. That would be so fun. I'd actually love that. I'd love to sweep you guys.
I don't think I could talk to you, though.
I don't think I could talk to you either, bro. We're have to take, like, a 2-week break from the podcast because it's going to be no talking.
Yeah. That'd be heat, though, after the Pacers.
Yeah, I don't know about all of that, bud. But let's go ahead and we're going to start with my segment. We're going to hop right into it, and we're going to be predicting this year's all-star teams. So how this works for the people at home, you get 2 front court players, 3 backcourt players, and you're starting 5 for each conference. And then it's the same way on the bench. You get 2 front court,
Yep.
3 backcourt, and then 2 wild cards. And then we even do some replacements. So it's like an honorable mention type of thing. But every year there's replacements. So there's about 2 to 3 replacements every year.
Yeah, just because players are hurt, I want to participate.
Right, exactly. Did you take account to like people being hurt like in the past?
Yeah.
I feel like if I was gonna decide between one person or the other, I kind of just took the healthy one. That's kind of how I did it.
Yeah, I kind of just was like, who was best? That's really what I went off of.
Who's best?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's hard. Like some people are like better than others, of course.
Yeah.
But I gotta pull my list up real quick. But I started with the Western Conference. Is that who you want to start with?
Yeah, let's go then.
All right. I think we're gonna have the same. I believe.
Maybe, probably.
I said Shea and Luka.
I also said Shea and Luka.
Okay. I just think those are the 2 best guards in the league.
I think it's pretty explainable why they're there.
I think they're kind of on their own tier when it comes to like guards. It's like Shea and Luka, which I mean, whoever you want to say is better, whatever. But then you have that next tier. I think this is a pretty obvious pick.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right, who do you have as your forwards?
So for my forwards, which this could be interesting and could be small ball, but for my 3, I think Anthony Edwards is starting this year in the All-Star game, and you might be questionable about that, but I think he's probably the best he's ever been, and I think this year he just continues to get better. He takes the next step, and I think he gets rewarded with an All-Star game start.
Okay, that's not bad. I consider him a guard.
I do too, but at the same time, I think you could run him at the 3. So
yeah, I mean, you don't really know what Minnesota's going to do this year.
You really don't,
because like Ayo could be like he could be the 2, right? Yeah,
exactly.
You can go whatever
but
you
I
want
think
with that.
He's good enough to earn an All-Star spot. So therefore, I put Ant at my 3, and then at my 4 and 5, which would play really big ball
I'm
here.
hoping
I would play Jokic, or I'd start Jokic and Wemby.
Okay,
which I think that's pretty self-explanatory why you would start them. But I think they both definitely deserve to start, and I think it kind of cancels out the small guard ball and then the really big ball. You're gonna have a little bit of a gap in there, but I think that is very deserving of your power forward and center for the Western Conference.
Yeah, with Wemby and Jokic, it kind of goes like, I mean, they're 2 guys that were top 3 in MVP voting last year. It's a pretty obvious pick, assuming their health. And if I would have considered Anthony Edwards the forward, I think I would agree with you. I think, but I never traced my mind.
I understand
but
that,
but at the same time, yeah. At the same time, I'm thinking, like, I was just thinking guard. It didn't even trace my mind for him to be a forward just because last year he was undoubtedly a guard.
You really wouldn't view him as a forward, but I think for All-Star's sake,
my starting forward, I put KD.
Yeah, that's who I had in there.
But I do agree that if Ant is considered a part of the backcourt, that he will be that spot over KD.
I also had KD in there, but then when I put Ant on my bench, I'm like, this just doesn't feel right.
Yep.
So therefore, I switched.
Okay. See, when I put Durant down, I also was like, I don't know if I agree with this.
I don't, but I definitely put Ant over.
All right, with your backup guards for the Western Conference, what are we saying here?
My backup guards, I got Curry and Devin Booker.
Love it.
I think Curry is gonna have a big year just because I think he's towards the end of his career. Maybe this helps Golden State to get him help. And then Devin Booker, he's probably one of the best scorers in the league right now. I think he continues to be consistent, and I think he balls out there in Phoenix this year. And I remember us talking about on the podcast like a week or two ago how the Suns were really like they overplayed their expectations last
Mhm.
year. Devin Booker was a huge part of that, and I think he could be even better this year.
Yeah. Okay. So obviously, I considered and a guard. So
Yeah.
my guard
Yeah.
position, I had Curry and Edwards,
Mhm.
but I did have Booker as a wild card. I mean, I agree with you. The Suns overperformed, and it was led by Devin Booker, and honestly, mainly because of Devin
Mhm.
Booker. And yeah, he didn't get enough like acknowledgement for that. And then as far as Steph, like he's man,
It's
he's
Steph
what is he,
Curry, bro.
38, 39, but
Yes.
God, he's gonna be so good, assuming he can stay healthy. I mean, he's gonna be carrying the Golden State Warriors team. And then as far as Ant, we already kind of talked about him,
Mhm.
but he's going to be carrying this Minnesota team. I'm interested to see if you whether or not you have LaMelo Ball in this or not. If we're staying on Minnesota, but we'll wait till then. Until then, we got the backcourt. So who's your backcourt?
I got KD, as you said.
Yep.
And then I got Chet Holmgren. I think he has a big year because of how bad his playoffs were. I think he bounces back big time this year, and I think Shea gets him a little more involved just because they don't want him to disappear. Now the season's 82 games and All Star games, what like within 40 or something around there. So obviously
Yeah.
he has to go the whole year. But I think Chet Holmgren has a big bounce back year. And then I think Jaren Jackson Jr. gets the All Star game this year. He was traded from Memphis to Utah last year, and I think he's due for a breakout slash big year. Utah, he's going to play a lot more freer. Even though he played free in Memphis, I think this trade was like, oh, this is our big player, and I think that could help his confidence. And I also think it's like a brand new look for him. You know, you got Darren Peterson, you got Keontae George. Like he's built around a little bit better, but I think that takes him to the next level. So I do think um, usually each team has an all star in the
Mhm.
All Star game, and I think
Yeah.
Jaren Jackson is that all star for the Utah Jazz.
I don't disagree with that. I mean, I don't say that he's going to be an all star,
Mhm.
but I could definitely see him taking the leap.
I
And I'm
I
not the
see it.
biggest Jaren Jackson fan, but I'd love to see
Really?
him get an all star. Yeah, I just like the rebounding's a
Dang.
problem. I think his defense is a little bit overrated as far as like, I don't feel like he's on that top tier with like Evan Mobley, but I like him still. I
Mhm.
think he's a good player, and I think he's a great stretch big for Utah, and I think that's a good trade for him. They got
Yeah, I
great
think it was a
value
great
for him,
trade.
and I didn't have him as an all star, but for my forwards, I obviously had Durant in my starter, so I didn't have Durant, and I didn't have
Yeah.
Chet Holmgren because I am a Spurs fan, so f Chet Holmgren. But I did have another Thunder in Jalen Williams.
Yeah, I think that's a very good pick, honestly.
I think Jalen Williams is their second best player.
When he's
Um,
healthy.
I think he's more consistent. I think he's more reliable, and I think he's just a better scorer. And I mean, Holmgren definitely is a better defender than him.
Mhm.
And they're kind of valuable to OKC in two different ways. And so it kind of just it could be just more so like, does the backup like for this backup team, do they need a center? Like then they'll take Chet to me. But I think J Dub's undoubtedly going to show that he's this second guy on this OKC team. I think he did last year in the playoffs, and I think he's going to continue to do it for the rest of the time that all three of those guys are in OKC. As far as Shea's in there, he's always going to look like the best one. And I think from now on, we see J Dub's undoubtedly two and Chet's undoubtedly three. But I could be completely wrong. You could be taking this. He
Yeah.
definitely is due for a bounce back year. If he's gonna have a bounce back year, if he's gonna have a year where he takes a step, this is gonna be the year. This has to be the year for him. Because if not, you might see OKC move on from him. So I had that. And then my next one, I've had a guy who on this podcast, well, not really on this podcast, but on an old blog that I used to run, which was hoopstalk.net, before I had The Quiet Gym and it rebranded. I had an article that stated that Denny Abdia was going to be a breakout player this next year. That next year, he became bigger than I even thought he was going to be. So I had Denny Abdia getting a back-to-back All-Star appearance. I think he's an amazing player for you or for Portland. I think he kind of is similar to Luka as far as scoring wise, where like he's a 3 level scorer and he's really good at drawing fouls. The same way that Luka is. Obviously, Luka's a better playmaker and he's a better scorer at a higher volume. But Denny's a great player and he's a really good defender. I think that's something that he doesn't get shown for. I think he's a really good ball handler for his size, and I think he's going to lead Portland as their best player, despite getting Jaw and Dame back. And then for this last spot, I had Zion. I think
Really?
I think we finally see a year where Zion's healthy. I think I've seen some interviews with Zion. I think he spoke to Malika Andrews towards the end of the regular season, and then I saw another one. I can't remember who interviewed him, but he looked pretty determined to have a really bounce back year. And I think he hated how New Orleans was so bad this year. And I think even when Zion's healthy, this New Orleans team's not going to be a top 5 seed. I mean, they may not even make the playoffs, to be honest with you.
Probably
I mean,
not.
even if DeJounte's healthy, I don't know if I'd say they're a playoff team. But Zion, don't forget the last time we saw Zion healthy was in the play-in 2 years ago where he dropped 40 and then he got hurt at the end of that game. And then last year we didn't really see him consistently healthy. He missed games here and there. That's kind of how it was with Zion. He didn't have one big injury. He had a bunch of little small ones. And I think this is the year where we see Zion maybe lose a little bit of weight, maybe get it right, maybe stay a little bit durable, and we see maybe like a 26 point per game
That'd
year.
be huge.
I'd love to see that. And then I'm going to go ahead and say my wild cards real quick.
Go right ahead.
For one, obviously, I got to represent my Spurs. I got Stephon Castle.
I agree with that.
I think they're going to be the best team in the Western Conference, and if they're not, they'll just be right behind OKC. And I think those teams like that, like I had OKC getting 2, I have San Antonio getting 2. I think those teams that are that good deserve to have 2 All-Stars. Stephon Castle in the second year already was playing on an All-Star level. Obviously, De'Aaron Fox had that spot over him, and the replacements last year, which was deservingly so. De'Aaron Fox in the regular season was by far our second best player. But when we looked in the playoffs, Stephon Castle was relied on to be that reliable scorer when it wasn't Dylan Harper. And he was guarding the other team's best player and playing 35 minutes while us expecting him to do something on the offensive end. I think that's going to be, his offense is only going to get better. His defense is already there I think it's already on like a Hall of Fame level. Maybe that's glazing, but it's like he's one of the best defensive guards we've seen in the last 10 years. And I think he's going to deserve this first wild card spot. And then I already mentioned my other wild card spot is Devin Booker.
I think he deserves to be in the All-Star, not a wild card.
Devin Booker.
Yeah, like
it's just because I had Ant as a guard. Okay, don't get it twisted. Don't get it twisted.
All right, so for my last spot, wild card spot, I had Castle. Agree with you. And then for my other spot, I had Keontae George.
Love that. I love
that
Keontae
might
George.
Be really.
I just spit.
I know.
Everywhere.
It might be really weird for the Jazz to have 2 All-Stars, even if they aren't in the top 8 seeds. But Keontae George he reminds me of Stephon Castle's progression. Like, they took such big leaps together. And another thing with Keontae George is he took a leap from like a mid to good player to an all-star, in my opinion, last year with no help. Mm-hmm. And obviously he's going to look a little better with no help because, he's got to do all that stuff. But I think like Jaren Jackson, that's why I'm huge on this. For Jaren Jackson and Keontae George, I think they help each other even though they both need the ball. And I think bringing in Darren Peterson, I think that's where he's going to get a lot of his assists because Darren Peterson is going to put his head down and score. I think Keontae George is going to average a double-double this year. I think he could be, not in the most improved racing, but I think he could be a solidified all-star for next year.
I think if he becomes an all-star, he'll be in
consistent.
The most. Yeah, yes. I think he'll be the most improved player, at least a candidate.
Yes, I love Keontae George in the spot here. He kind of plays his own role here, where he gets it or not. But I definitely think he deserves an all-star if he plays as good as last year or better.
I'd love that. You saw Keontae George last year. I do remember one game where I think he hit a game winner in overtime. But him and Lowry both had over 30, and they had no help, like, at all. Yeah. So you were 100% right there. And then Utah's only going to get better because obviously they have another scoring presence in Peterson. They're going to have Jaren Jackson back. That's going to help with their scoring. They're going to have consistent minutes of use of Nurkic, assuming that he's going to be there the whole season. Who knows? But I do love Keontae George, and I hope that he does become an all-star. If we're considering Ant a guard, there's a lot of guards there. And, I'm going to take him. I'm going to take Stephon Castle over him. I'm going to take the guy I have as a replacement over him. But still, I think it's a great pick. I love Keontae George. So I'm going to start out with my wild card, or not my wild cards, but with my replacements. Just a quick shout-outs for my guard. I'm gonna go ahead and I took Jamal Murray. I think Jamal
Yep,
Murray.
I second that. I also took Jamal Murray.
I think Jamal Murray is still a great scorer. Denver's gonna be great still. I think we're done seeing Denver make moves despite Peyton Watson still being there. I think he's gonna be signed and traded.
I think he stays in Denver just because I think he's grown a lot.
Yeah,
We will talk about that in my segment. So we're not going to get to that right now.
It's the money thing for me for Denver. But as far as Jamal Murray, if you see Jokic miss a little bit of time, Jamal Murray is undoubtedly that guy. Like, he's him. Like, if Jokic out of the game, I guarantee a 30-piece. I mean, Jamal Murray is one of those guys that goes under the radar when we talk about this decade because
he plays behind Jokic.
Yeah, I mean, he's one of the best second options. But I would say he's been the best second option since 2020 behind Jaylen Brown. To me. Which could be a crazy take. But
I don't know about... I'd say top 5 for sure. I mean, you got some good duos in the league, don't get me wrong. But, like, I say top 5.
All right. That's not crazy. And then for my forward, I said Cooper Flagg. I think we could see a big leap from him. I mean, typically second-year guys get more mature, and Cooper Flagg obviously is a really good player. We saw him as a really good rookie, and he's only going to get better at some point. So I think maybe he might not get the All-Star nod this year, but he's going to be damn close.
For mine, I put Alfred Sengun. I really like Alfred Sengun as a big. He kind of reminds me of Jokic, like a mini Jokic, and I think him and Jaren Jackson could fight for that last spot. That's kind of what I'm expecting. I think the Rockets are due for a big year to solidify themselves in the playoffs. They've been good in the regular seasons the past 5 years, but when they get to the playoffs, they lost to the Warriors. Haven't been able to play good in the playoffs. I think Alfred Sengun comes in and he matures a lot more than what he did because he was having a lot of turnovers last year. That hurt them a lot. And I think he will be I think he could be in the top 10 for MVP if they really, really, really play good. And he plays consistent, less turnovers, and plays some of his best ball.
Yeah, definitely. When you look at Alperen Sengun's stats, they're one of the best in the league.
Yes, they really are.
The thing is, like, the eye test, obviously, like, he has turnovers.
Jokic doesn't.
Lack of defense. But it's like, he's still, like, he's going to get you points, he's going to get you rebounds, he's going to get you assists.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the 3 main statistical. Yeah, you know what I mean? So, okay, let's head over to the Eastern Conference. I think we're going to have a lot of the same things as far as the starters. That's typically how it usually goes.
Yeah.
But if you want to just go ahead and say your 5.
So, at point guard, or my guards, I got Jalen Brunson and Cade Cunningham. And then for my front court, I got Giannis, I got Jason Tatum, and I got another Nick, Karl Anthony Towns.
Okay.
Which is very interesting. Knicks are obviously the reigning champions. I think they're going to come back. I think they're going to be just like they were. I think Cat is going to have a huge year. I think he's going to want to shoot more threes than what he did last year. But I also think he's still going to be a presence at the rim. I think Jason Tatum gets it just because Jaylen Brown's out of Boston. They're going to need a lot more scoring. Oh, yeah. I think he's going to prove why he really was the number 1 option over Jaylen Brown. I think Cade Cunningham takes a big maturity leap this year. I mean, I still don't think he was immature last year, but I think just the playoffs kind of hurt him a little bit, and I think he proves why he still was a very good player. And I think Giannis just, he's going out to Miami. He's going to have to score a lot, do a lot of the work down there. So I think it's pretty self-explanatory why Giannis will be an all-star in his first year in Miami.
All right. Well, I agree with 4 to 5. Yeah. I said Cade. I said Brunson. Obviously, Brunson coming off Finals MVP. Mm-hmm. You know how high I am on Cade. And then for the forwards, I said Tatum. I agree with you. Like, he's got to prove that he was that number 1 option. He was that guy. But also, if we see Tatum go back to any form that he was when he was fully healthy, he's going to have a career year. Because he doesn't have Jaylen Brown.
He doesn't.
And it comes down to that. He doesn't have Jaylen Brown. He doesn't have Porzingis anymore. He doesn't have Jrue Holiday anymore. I mean, the only, big impact guy that they have, really, is Derek White. Mm-hmm. I mean, no hate to, Peyton Pritchard or Paul George or Mitchell Robinson or any of those guys, but they're more like role players now. I mean, they fall into more of a role, and Jason Tatum's going to have to take that step. So I agree with you there. Obviously, Giannis, I mean, we all know how good Giannis is, so he's going to be a starter. But with my 5th pick, I know you're going to love this, and I think this is going to be an amazing time to see him be a star starter in Jalen Johnson.
I love that pick. I do have him on the bench for mine, But I love Jalen Johnson. Like I've said in this podcast multiple times, I do not pick up random people to follow. But I love Jalen Johnson, and that is huge. I think he takes a huge leap. He was a big part of the Hawks' success. Even though this is your guy, I'm going to take cover on this one. I love Jalen Johnson so much. You ever see these one day, 50 years? Hit me up, Jalen
50
Johnson.
years, dude.
Yes, bro. If he's just scrolling or something. But no, Jalen Johnson is due for a breakout year, and I really, 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 really would love to see him start.
Yeah, I think Atlanta's going to be like a top 5 seed. At least by this time, I think they'll be matured. They'll be playing together. Lou Dort is a good help for him, even though I was hating on him in a short. Sometimes you got to clip things, bro. Sometimes you got to do it for the views. But yeah, Lou Dort's a perfect fit for him. I think that helps them mature their lineup a little bit. Helps with their defense. It helps with their off-ball shooting. And then obviously having CJ a lot. But I like this team still goes through Jalen Johnson. Yes. They go through it, and offensively, he's one of the best offensive players in the Eastern Conference.
A triple-double this year. I don't think that's crazy to say.
I mean, he was kind of close last year.
He was.
So I don't think that's even like that's realistic. If you say he gets more points, more rebounds, more assists, even just a little bit, let's say he goes up 1, he's still almost at a triple-double. He's definitely at a double-double.
Oh, so, he'll definitely have a double.
All right, let's go ahead and let's move to our bench. I'm going to start a little bit. With my guards, I have Tyrese Maxey and Donovan Mitchell. Oh, someone's hating. I see a little bit of hate in your face. What don't you like?
I don't know about. I think Tyrese Maxey is a great scorer, but I think with that star lineup, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult for him to be an all-star this year, just because you can have Brown. I feel like Embiid always overlooks him for some reason. Don't know why.
I think last year I would say Maxey kind of.
I would also say that, but I feel like people still say Embiid's better.
I mean,
they're going to want to give LeBron an all-star, and
I don't have him on my list.
I don't either, but I think people will want LeBron to be an all-star, new team, Eastern Conference again.
I think
He's
it
got
depends.
2 years left. I just think Tyrese Maxey is really overlooked in this situation. Now I do have him in my wild card.
This guy,
but
guy's hating for no reason.
I don't think he's. Pivotal.
Do you have Donovan Mitchell on your guard?
Yes.
Okay, who's your other guard?
Tyrese Halliburton.
Okay, he's on my wild card.
Okay, so we switched those.
Okay, that's not bad.
No, it's not bad. I think
because I think I was thinking in my head like all 3 of these guys are interchangeable.
They really are. But I think Halliburton will come back, and I just think because he's coming off the year of injury, I think that kind of gives him an advantage instead of Maxey, who's having stars come in there, and he's going to get a little bit of his role taken up. But I think Halliburton will come back. I think he'll average a double-double. I expect him to really kind of just be that player he was in the finals, making plays, hopefully consistently. But I think Halliburton will get that bench spot over Maxey.
All right, I like that. I like that move. I think Maxey we will see be number 1, if not number 2 option next year for him.
I think it will be Brown, Embiid, Maxey, Braun. But I still think people will say Embiid's better than Maxey for some reason.
If Embiid is fully healthy, I think Embiid's their 1.
I don't think.
And I think Maxey's there too still. I think Brown would take 3.
I don't think Brown would go for that.
But even I don't think he'd like it. But if he wants to freaking win, dude, you're not on 1 option, and he's gonna have to realize that. I think last year it kind of like he's got to realize it a little bit after last year. Like you had a good team around you, you were the one guy, and you couldn't even get past Philly.
Now you're on Philly.
Yeah,
you can't be
Kevin Durant. That boy's a snake. All right, you want to go ahead and say your forwards?
Yeah, my forward, I got Jaylen Brown,
okay,
Bam Adebayo, and Jalen Johnson. I think Jaylen Brown's still going to average about 25 a game. I think he takes a little bit of the hit. That's just what the stars, Bam Adebayo, he's going to have to average about 30 if Miami wants a chance. So I think he's going to be scoring a lot. I think him and Giannis are going to be very, very, very good front court this year. And then Jalen Johnson, self-explanatory, boy's a dog. I just think it will be really hard for him to beat out Jason Tatum, since Jason Tatum, I think, is going to take a leap in Giannis. Giannis is going to average a double-double, close to a triple-double, in my opinion. But yeah, I think Jalen Johnson is a very good high potential guy this year.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I agree with the Jalen Johnson thing, obviously. But with my forwards, I ended up saying I agreed with Jaylen Brown. Mm-hmm. I said Joel Embiid. I think if they have a big year, and I know you can't prevent injury, but some of these guys, if they have like an okay team, they have not a great team, they sit. And Joel Embiid's been a guy that's sat a lot.
Especially
I think now,
recently.
I think now one of the last healthy seasons we saw from him was 2019 when they had Jimmy Butler and they had that good team, right?
And the MVP.
In the MVP year, but he was in the race for the MVP, so it's a little different. You know what I mean? I think we see a little bit more of Joel Embiid since they're a little healthier. Yeah, because Joel Embiid's a great player. For my forward, I have Scotty Barnes.
Mm-hmm. That's not bad.
I think he's gonna be, even if Kawhi's there, their best player. I think defensively, he's one of the best defenders in the league. I think he's better than Kawhi right now defensively. I think scoring wise, I think Kawhi would take, like, if Kawhi ends up playing there. I don't even have Kawhi as an All-Star right now.
I also don't.
I just I'm unsure whether he's even going to start there or not. Mm-hmm. Brandon Ingram might not even play that much this year because that trade's not going to go down.
Yeah.
So that's unfortunate for Brandon Ingram and I think it was Grady Dick. But as far as Scotty Barnes, I think
Ingram will still play. Dick might not play.
I don't think that trade can go down though.
No, I don't think it can, but I still think he'll be good in Toronto.
I don't think they'll play him.
Really?
I think they'll sit him until that trade goes down. Yeah.
Maybe.
Scotty Barnes. All Raptors fans know how good he is. If you watch Raptors games, you know how good he is. I mean, this guy's a dog, and I think he's one of the most underrated guys in the league right now. And as far as my last four, I already said it, Jaylen Brown. So yeah. And for my wild cards, I obviously had Halliburton, and then I had Paolo Banchero.
Yeah, same. I had Pablo, and then I had Tyrese Maxey. So we kind of all got the same there. I think Paolo Banchero looked really, really good in the first 4 games of the playoffs. I kind of expect him to kind of be that player. I expect him to be the one over Franz. But yeah, I think Paolo Banchero will have a big year. I think he'll average about 23, 24, get about 8 boards. I think he'll almost be a double-double threat. And Tyrese Maxey, self-explanatory. He can catch fire any given night. Definitely agree with that.
For my replacements, I'm not sure if you'll like it too much. I have Trae Young as my guard.
I also do.
I think even if he plays at a level to where he should be an all-star, they just don't like giving it to Trae Young. There's some guys that they're like that with. It was Jamal Murray for a long time, but it's Trae Young right now. Trae Young's been in he's been in a drought of getting a playoff spot a while. And I think the last time he got it, he was a replacement, if I'm not wrong. So I even if he went out and averaged 27 and 10, I think there's still a chance for first off, he's on Washington, so even if Washington's a top 6 seed, some people just look at, he's in Washington, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that if they were to make a replacement, and I don't think Washington's going to be terrible. I think they'll be a play-in team. I think there's no reason not to give it to Trae Young. He'll be their best player, unless AJ DeBansta's coming in, taking over. But in the summer league, there was a lot of holes there. I mean, he's got to play stronger. And I just think Trae Young is more NBA ready. I mean, obviously he's been in the league for 7 or 8 years now. So I have him as my replacement guard. And then my replacement I have is your starting forward in Cat. I think the Knicks will be great, but I think this will be undoubtedly Jalen Brunson's team. And I think last year it was like that. But the years before that, it was kind of Brunson's better. And some people were saying Cat was better. I think undoubtedly it's going to be Brunson now. And I think now you look at it, the East is stacked. It's hard to get all these guys in this all-star team because it's there's so many great players. You didn't even say Scotty Barnes.
No.
And I think he will be, but I didn't even say Cat. And it's these guys, if they were in the West, probably would be all-stars. Probably on both of our lanes. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So I have him as a replacement. I think if anybody gets hurt, and I think they do it as a replacement wise, is if Jamal, let's say Cade Cunningham gets hurt, I don't think they really go off position. I think they just kind of replace, which is fine. I think in my case, it'd be Cat would be first one up, right? I think he would be the first one up out of anybody I named. He's one of these guys that's he's a snub, but someone's got to be a snub. Mm-hmm. So,
but he plays on a very good team. So,
right.
For mine is Evan Mobley. I think his defense is what will get him there. You're not really looking as Evan Mobley as so much of an offensive threat. He can still score, but he's not getting there because of his offense. He's getting there because of his defense. Every once in a while, the league rewards defense, so I think that's really what gets Evan Mobley to the All-Star game. I think he could average almost 2 blocks a game. That might be a lot, but I think that's kind of where he's got to take the leap. And I think, for me, that is how Evan Mobley gets in the All-Star game for me.
All right. I know I didn't have you write those down, but what do you think the coaches will be?
Shoot.
I'll name you who they were last year. I'm looking it up right now. I can't.
Okay,
I know the
think-
West was Mitch Johnson.
I think Mitch Johnson repeats.
I think
saw-
they'll give it to Mark Daigneault just because Mitch Johnson had it last
maybe.
year.
I think between those two, I don't think you would pick another coach outside of those two.
Oh no.
For the East, it could be a few.
Okay, last year it was JB. Oh yeah, remember they did 4. They had
Yeah.
3 teams. I think it's back to Western and Eastern this year. I mean, I looked it up before we did this because I wanted to be sure because they change it like every year.
They do.
But it was JB Bickerstaff of Detroit. It was Mitch Johnson of San Antonio, and it was Darko Rajovic for Toronto. And obviously, they're not going to have 3 teams; they're going to have 2 teams. So, who would be that other Eastern Conference coach?
I think if Philadelphia has a big year, I think it could be Nick Nurse, but I also think it could be Kenny Atkinson, which that might be a sleeper pick. But I feel like Kenny Atkinson gets involved in a lot of stuff. It's like he was.
He does say some crazy shit.
Yes, he was on the USA team.
He was an assistant.
So like I could see them trying to have Kenny Atkinson in there.
I'm gonna take the cop out answer and say Mike Brown.
And that's a very good answer too.
I mean, they former
yeah,
reigning champions. He kind of they didn't even change their lineup really, and it took from Tom Thibodeau to Mike Brown championship. And I mean, I think
that's a very good.
I think they'll be the 1 seed. There's no doubt in my mind that they'll be the 1 seed by the time that All-Star game's up. Maybe by April, but I think by February they will be. And I think that they'll just give it to Mike Brown.
Yeah, but it's good.
I think your team's good. There's nothing on your team that I'm like, oh hell no. I think as much as you want to say Keontae George is a sleeper pick, I mean he is, but I he had a great year last year. But go ahead and take control now. This is your segment, bud. This is your first
thing I sent you.
This is the first segment that you've done.
All right, folks. So, all right.
Don't explain what
So,
happened, bro.
I love free agency, and I think there are still some big names out there. So me and Wyatt are gonna go through and kind of predict where we have the excuse me these remaining free agents going. So first off, we're gonna go off restricted free agents. First one's Jalen Duren. I see Jalen Duren staying in Detroit. I don't really know a good fit for him. I know they kind of talked about him in trade talk, so if he got moved, I wouldn't be shocked. But I really see Jalen Duren staying in Detroit.
I agree. I think Jalen Duren's going to stay in Detroit. I would be shocked if they did trade him, just because I would do literally everything I have to if I was Detroit to keep him. Mm-hmm. Because although he sucked in the playoffs, it was his first playoff series. His first 2 playoff series. So, I mean, he's only going to get better. I mean, we do see guys that go throughout their whole career and play really good in the regular season and just suck in the playoffs. And maybe that's him, but it's too early to know that. And I'm not going to say he's some cancer. He's a really good player, really good young player. And if there is anything wrong with him, it's not too late. And I don't see any reason why they shouldn't pay him.
Yep. So next, we got James Harden. I think this one is probably the most obvious out of all of them. I think he's staying in Cleveland. They didn't get Bron, so I think they have to pay James. I think he'll get a little more than what he would have gotten. But yeah, I mean, do you see James Harden going anywhere else?
I don't. I think he's going back to Cleveland. But I wouldn't be too shocked if he was traded just to another team that was kind of in Cleveland's position when they traded for him. Just a team that they're missing pieces. But if they had James Harden, they think they could be title contenders. And I don't know exactly what it'd look like for them to what the package would be for James Harden right now. But I think part of it is making me question is one, why isn't he signed yet? What are they waiting on?
I am kind of wondering
because
about
LeBron did sign. I thought maybe that's what they were waiting on, but it's been maybe about a week now.
Yeah.
And there's no Harden news, and there's not even any teams that we've said that's
I haven't seen
wanting
anyone
him.
in there.
That's what I'm saying.
So I do think it's pretty much a lock.
But at the same time, how much money does James want? And that could be part of it, is they can't just come to a deal. And him at being a restricted free agent, obviously he's going to get a deal because, he's not going to just take the qualifying. They'll throw him something. But maybe he's looking for length and they don't want to do that. Maybe he's looking for money. They don't want to do that. But it does make me question on what really they want out of James Harden.
I see that. So next, Benedict Mathurin. I think out of all of the restricted free agents, I think he's the most likely to get moved, in my opinion.
Okay.
Kind of sad to see it, to be honest with you, just because he balled for the Pacers. But I got 3 teams, in my opinion. First one, he stays in LA, which could happen just because he's young and he has a lot of potential. But I don't really see that happening. My second team would be the Grizzlies, which Grizzlies are really bad, but they've had such a bad offseason, they're due for a good move. And Benedict Mathurin would be your floor general over there in Memphis. And they have a very young team, Cedric Coward, and all of them. I think he could go there and ball with Boozer. Ball with Boozer. That was a good one.
Ball Boozer. I like that. Trademark that.
Yeah. But my other team for Mathurin would be the Pelicans. I could see a trade for like Trey Murphy, Herb Jones, and a pick or something like that. But the Pelicans are kind of similar to the Grizzlies. I think the Pelicans will be better than the Grizzlies, but I think the Pelicans are due for a move to kind of show they're still trying to compete in this league. And I think Mathurin could go over there, average anywhere from 15 to 20 points for them. He could be a good scorer. I mean, Jordan Poole has been up and down when they thought he was going to be a good scorer, but Mathurin will definitely deliver scoring for you. And I think Trey Murphy wants a new home. I think he really wants out of New Orleans. I saw a lot of Pacers rumors this offseason. That didn't go through yet. But I think a trade for Mathurin for Murphy is very realistic, in my opinion.
I think. I mean, I haven't stayed in LA. I think, unfortunately, if he stays in LA, he will be the backup to the rookie. I think they're just going to throw the rookie in the fire because that's kind of the position they're in. But I don't mind the Grizzly thing. I think that would be like what you said. Like it's like a confidence booster for Memphis. It's like, yeah, we have some hope though. Like Memphis fans don't leave us because we have a little bit of hope. And I do like the fit in New Orleans a lot. My thing is they're selling really high on Trey Murphy, so I'm not sure if it would be a Trey Murphy thing or if it would be like a Herb Jones in like a couple seconds. I think you might be selling too high on Benedict Mathurin, but that's okay. I mean, the trade market for Benedict Mathurin would be, I don't know how high it'd be just because we haven't seen him take that next step yet. But he's either really due for it, and if he doesn't do it, that's going to be one of the most disappointing careers I think I've ever witnessed.
I agree. The fall off will be pretty sad.
Because he started off, I mean, I think it was the second year where I was like, dude, he's locked. Like, he's going to be an all-star. Like, it's locked to be one of the best players in the league.
And he's the reason they Pacers won game 3.
Yeah, and now he's kind of just a pure scorer.
He is.
And he's nothing really outside of that. And I think he has the potential to be better.
Yeah. All right, so our last restricted free agent is Peyton Watson. I think me and Wyatt have very different views on this, actually. I think there's like an 80% chance he stays in Denver. I think Denver's one of those teams that are going to stay the same. I don't really see a lot of movement going on there with Denver, but I think they might want to take the next step to make sure they're a top 3 seed and help their final boost. So I think if the Kawhi trade doesn't go through, I think you could see a Peyton Watson for Brandon Ingram swap. And I haven't seen anyone say that, but I think it might be awkward in Toronto with Brandon Ingram just because he was traded for a week or a few days, and now he's like, "Oh, you're back, but we were going to trade you." I think there could be some drama there, and I think the Nuggets could see that and throw Peyton Watson in a few seconds and get Ingram, and I think it'd be a little bit of an upgrade. They're going to lose age with Peyton Watson, but that's kind of where I see that going.
Okay. The only thing I have, like, if you're Denver, I would do everything that I could to keep Peyton Watson, of course. And they're kind of in control, but at the same time, they just matched Spencer Jones's option from him going to OKC, and that put him over the second apron, which means that they've got to pay a luxury tax. And I don't know if they're willing to do even more for a Peyton Watson contract because that's going to be a lot. And so I do think they do ship him out. I don't mind Toronto, actually. The only thing that Brandon Ingram thing could only happen if they were like 100% like, I'm done with Kawhi. Like, this is going down. This is breaking down. Obviously, they wouldn't move Brandon Ingram with the chance of having Kawhi. But I had him to Milwaukee. So kind of like similar to like your Mathurin to Memphis, where like that team, I mean, they're in a better position than Memphis is, in my opinion. I mean, you could disagree. Whoever can disagree. But they have the guards to give up. And Denver, do they really need guards? I mean, maybe some backups, but I mean, Jamal Murray's great. Christian Braun, I think, has gotten a lot better. And, I mean, he didn't have a great year compared to the year before, but he's still a pretty good player for him. And, I mean, they would have to trade for a guy who doesn't have that great of a contract or doesn't have that big of a contract. So it'd have to be like a Ryan Rollins. I mean, Tyler Hero's kind of locked up. I think Jaime Jaquez might have a extension coming up, but I could be wrong. So it could be like a Jaime Jaquez deal. I don't think they're going to trade their rookie and Braden Burries. And then obviously, I don't think they're going to trade Kevin Porter Jr. Plus, they just locked him up. So, I mean, who knows what we could see, but I do have him to Milwaukee. And now I got to find this again because for some reason it closed.
I miss.
Good job, bro. I do know that one of the. Bro, okay. Let's just break the mic, Presto. So the first one is Bradley Beal.
How does this fit?
It slides in. You're going to have to slide it because I can't grab it.
All right. So the first one is Bradley Beal. I think this is kind of like a last chance for him. I think he was looking like he was out of the league in Phoenix, and the Clippers gave him a chance. But I could see Bradley Beal going to Boston, trying to help that out a little bit. I feel like it's kind of like desperation mode, trying to find a scorer that has experience because I think they're trying to get that. I don't think they're looking for youth with Paul George, obviously bringing him in. So I think Bradley Beal could go to Celtics. I don't think it's a bad fit, but I think that could be interesting. And then the other team I had was the Hornets. They're a very, very young team, but I feel like a little bit of a veteran presence, which I'll talk about that later. I think that would help the Hornets.
I don't mind that. I actually really like that Charlotte fit. I didn't think about that. I think that's great. And then Boston, it makes sense. But unfortunately for me, I don't think we see Bradley Beal on a team to start this year. I think maybe we see him on a team later on if a team makes a trade and they're competing and they have an open roster spot. Maybe they throw a chance on Bradley Beal. But unfortunately, he went down with a big injury last year. I mean, he was already considered washed. I unfortunately think that maybe this might not be like done for Bradley Beal, but to start this season, I don't think we see Bradley Beal on an NBA jersey.
So next, DeMar DeRozan. I think DeMar could either go to Toronto or Miami. I think he's going to go to a contending team. I think that's what he wants. That's why he went out of Sacramento. I think he deserves it because he really hasn't contended in a few years. But I think if the Kawhi trade doesn't go through, I think Toronto's wide open. But I also think Milwaukee needs him more just because of the depth they're lacking. And I think Miami would be a good fit for him just because they're going to ask him to score the ball, and that's what he wants to do. He's not coming to a team to pass or play defense. He's coming to score. And I think Miami would need that from him.
I wouldn't mind the Toronto reunion, and I think that's probably why you're saying Toronto is because of a reunion. I mean, I remember watching a young DeMar when he got drafted. Their best player was Andrea Bargnani, and no hate to Bargnani, but obviously not a number one overall pick. Like, quality player shouldn't be your best player. And then he came in and kind of turned that franchise around. And if it wasn't for DeMar DeRozan, I don't think they won a championship in 2019, despite him not even being on the roster. So he kind of definitely turned that franchise around. He was traded for the guy that ended up winning the Finals MVP that year in Kawhi and carrying that team in the playoffs. But I don't think we see a reunion. I think partially because, I mean, first off, I think it would be more likely to see a reunion if Kyle Lowry was playing the whole season.
Yeah.
But he just signed a one-day deal and retired. So I think that's a little different. And I do think that he's going to be a Miami Heat at some point. And I think there's another guy on this list I think will also be on the Miami Heat by the start of this year. And I'd love to see those two back together and playing on a contending team, assuming that Miami's a contender.
So next we got Jonathan Kuminga. I think he is the best remaining free agent on this list.
Disagree.
I think he's kind of been shaded on his whole career. I think he gives me shades of like a worse Jalen Williams in a way, because I think they do the same kind of thing. But for me, this is kind of like the Mathurin deal. I think he's going to go somewhere where he can be the main guy. He can show he belongs in the league. I feel like for Memphis, they're going to want to go spend money. I mean, their best acquisition this offseason outside of Cam Boozer was Jeremy Grant. And they have taken steps in the wrong direction this year. So I could see something like Jonathan Kaminga. I think that could be huge for them. Another team I see is Brooklyn, the Nets. Um, the East has gotten a lot better, and I think Brooklyn brought in Julius Randle looking like, oh, maybe we can contend. But I don't think just bringing in Julius Randle this year is going to help them contend. But I think giving Jonathan Kaminga a good deal for him could be very interesting for Brooklyn. I feel like Brooklyn's kind of looking to make moves. They've had a lot of draft picks, but they haven't really gone through the free agency market. But obviously, I said they brought in Randall trade, but I think Jonathan Kaminga could also end up there. And then I had one more. Oh, I think he could also go to Sacramento. These are all teams where he can go prove himself, and I really think that's what he's going to do. But Sacramento got rid of DeMar, and I think they could replace him with Jonathan Kaminga. I think he could go be an 18-point scorer if he really, really, really wanted to. And I think he's not going to be asked to do too much there, but I think that's where he could shine when he's not being asked to do too much.
Okay. I actually like that a lot. I think Jonathan Kaminga would be great going to a worse team and actually proving himself.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, I don't think that's what I have him doing, but this does remind me of when Dennis Schroeder a couple years ago was asking for like 120 coming off that year where he's like, I don't think he won 6 Man of the Year, but he was in the running for it in OKC, and then he ended up having to settle with like I think it was a minimum in LA, and I think that's going to be similar to where we see Kaminga ask for a ton of money all offseason and end up getting something that's almost equal to the qualifying offer. So with that being said, I think if he's going to take a little bit of money, he's still going to want to win. And I think the perfect fit for him is Cleveland. They still have that hole where they're expecting LeBron to be. Obviously, Max Strus, despite him having a playoffs, just isn't enough there at that three. I mean, you have Jalen Tyson. They could look to find some other three. I mean, they went out and got Mario Hezonja, but I highly doubt they're going to this year thinking he's going to be the starter. And I think Kaminga could slide in with that three. Whether or not he beats out Strus for the spot or not, that's to be determined by Kenny Atkinson later. But I think it wouldn't be a terrible idea for Cleveland to go, and even if he's not the starter, get a little bit of depth in that position.
Next we got Brandon Williams. I think he had a pretty decent year last year. Them trading Ryan Nembhard, I can't really see them getting a better guard for the spot that they're kind of looking at, because the other person on this list is Russ, and I don't think Russ fits that team just because they want young players. And I think Brandon Williams could really return to the Mavs, be a backup point guard, and do pretty good for them. But outside of the Mavs, I didn't really see a good fit besides Charlotte. I think they're kind of lacking the depth. Lost Trey Mann, lost Colin Sexton, but I think that Brandon Williams could go there and be a good backup point guard for them. But I truly think he stays in Memphis or the Mavericks.
I don't hate it. I mean, I would love for him to stay in Dallas because I think there is a spot for him there. I'm confused to why they haven't re-signed him yet.
Too.
I did look it up earlier on my way. Well, I know I do a lot of driving and texting, bro.
It's texting and driving.
Same thing, bro. But I was trying to figure it out because I was on my way here, and I was like, I looked at the list and I was like, huh. Like I knew he wasn't signed, but it made me wonder, like back in my head. So I tried to look it up, and there wasn't him asking for money. He literally just hasn't been signed, and so it's making me question on whether or not why Dallas doesn't want him back yet, because they don't have a backup point guard.
No.
I mean, they went into last year starting Cooper Flag there because they weren't confident enough in Brandon Williams and Ryan Nembhard. Obviously, Ryan Nembhard was an undrafted rookie, so I wouldn't trust him right away either. But Brandon Williams, surprisingly enough, wasn't trusted. And I think to me, even that season before, it was enough to maybe trust to put a point guard on the floor at least. But to me, this just shows me that, okay, Jason Kidd did not like Brandon Williams because he did everything he could to not play him, and he only played him at the end of the year because he had to. And obviously, Jason Kidd isn't that coach anymore. It's Dusty May. But I wonder if maybe it's more up. Like it's more of like that general manager was trying to find a way to get rid of him. Yeah. And if it's that, then I see him on a team like Golden State where he can go and back up Steph with low expectation. And I think he's a great backup. I think if he was going to be on a contender, I mean, obviously, I think last year he was around 12 to 13 points a game. I think he'd be more around 8. But he's a good ball handler. He's not the greatest defender, but that's not exactly what you need to ask of him. And I think Golden State wouldn't be a terrible fit. They did just re-sign Gary Payton, but they like to play him off the ball. Pods is more of an off the ball kind of player. Really, the on the ball kind of players they only have is maybe Draymond in some possessions and then Steph in some possessions. They don't really have like a ball handling point guard, and I don't think. I mean, obviously, Brandon Williams isn't like, oh, we got Brandon Williams and now he's going to run our offense. Like, that's not going to happen. But it would take a lot of pressure off some guys that aren't used to handling the ball, especially when you're trying to contend.
Yeah. So our last player is Russ. And for me, I see him going to a contending team. I don't think he's going to go back to a team like Sacramento or go to Memphis where they're kind of like they're nowhere close to the title. I think he's going to go. I think he has a chance to go to Miami. Miami needs guard help. We've talked about this about 5 times on this podcast. But they need help desperately at the guard position, and Russ is looking to win a chip. He's looking to help all that he can. I think that's a good fit. Another fit I see Russ is Detroit. That could be very interesting. They lost Marcus Sasser, but I don't think Detroit's gonna ask Russ to play. I think they're gonna ask him to be there and mentor. And if he needs to play, that's not a bad option. Like I think they're gonna try and play the sophomore. I can't think of his name. Jenkins. I think they'd play him over Russ, but I think Russ could be right there and compete for rotation time. And then my last spot would be Golden State. They're not going all in because they haven't made moves, but they should be going all in. And I think Golden State is a little weak at the guard position. And I honestly, after thinking about it, I really like the Brandon Williams to Golden State. I didn't really think of that. That's not a bad idea to me. But I think Russ would go there, and I think him and Steph would be scary together, which I don't know how much they'd play. But I think that Russ could help the Warriors with his experience, but I also think he could try and go help them now to win.
Yeah, I mean, we saw in Denver when Russ was in Denver, not last year but the year before, where he was a big impactful player even in winning games. I mean, he's learned to play as that role player, and I think that's what makes him valuable now. And surprisingly, there's no team that wants that. And I know it's partially age, partially ego, but I think you can put him on a contending team and him do the little things. And that's exactly what you want in your role player. So it doesn't shock me that DeMar's still there because DeMar is kind of like a weird player to just fit into a team. But Russ isn't anymore. He used to be. Like, if you remember when he was on the Lakers, he was. When he was on the Clippers, he was. But I mean, now he's definitely learned to play as that winning role player. And in Sacramento, he did take more of a, all-star approach where he's like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to be the guy. DeMar did the same thing. Levine did the same thing. Sabonis did the same thing. That's why they sucked. And I think DeMar and Russ both go to Miami because, first off, I think they love playing with each other. All right, bro. You ain't got to make it weird, bro. Okay, I think they liked playing alongside each other. Okay, that's still bad, bro. But yeah, it's better. And I think Miami's desperate for depth, and especially like you said at guard. And I think Russell would be the easy move to make. There's so much wrong with you, bro.
I know, bro. I know. I need help.
You need a lot, bro. Okay, my question for you is I have one more to ask you. Do you ever think we see Cameron Thomas back in the league?
I was on 2K about 2 hours before this, and I saw Cam Thomas sitting there in free agency. I wanted the same thing. I don't know. I think he deserves a shot, in my opinion. I think he'd be a great 3-4 kind of guard for any team. I gotta think though, a good team that needs him, like Miami, could really use him, but I don't think they'd play.
I think
get
he'd
him
be
because of
weird there.
defense. I think it'd be a weird fit. He's looking to score, but Giannis and Bam are looking to score too. I could see somewhere like maybe like the Knicks pick him up, which would be really weird.
Actually, I don't mind that for their bench.
I also don't for their bench. But not even for their bench.
That's
For
actually
kind of
crazy.
like a 10-11 kind of guy to be like, oh hey Cam, third quarter, go get buckets. Like we're in a slump, go get buckets, which could be interesting. But as the reigning champs, like that could be a very good pickup for low depth. And I think he's gonna be on a team that wins because he hasn't really had a lot of winning in his career, and he hasn't had
Yeah, he's been in Brooklyn
and Milwaukee when they were going downhill. But like, even if he goes and puts up like 7 to 10 points for the limited minutes he gets, that could open up a new kind of opportunity for him in his career. Just because he's won now, he's scored in his role. You know, maybe he's been
You
just
know?
doing straight defensive drills.
Okay, we know he's not doing that,
I
bro.
know,
But actually, New York's not bad because I know they have Jordan Clarkson, but Jordan
he's a
Clarkson
free
kind of
agent.
no, he resigned.
Oh, we did.
Yeah,
Oh.
but I think that he would kind of go in and do what they expected Jordan Clarkson to do.
Yeah.
Clarkson kind of just fell off as soon as he got to New York.
He kind of was
He
just there
still
for the
is good
vibes.
enough. Yeah, he's still good enough to get minutes, but it's like he wasn't that 6-man of the year caliber player. He wasn't Utah, and that could partially be because New York's a way better team. But Jordan Clarkson played well. I'm not doubting. I'm not like undering him, but at this point in their careers, Cameron Thomas is a better scorer, and I think he kind of goes in and it does what they expected Jordan Clarkson to kind of do. And so I don't think that's a bad fit at all. I think it does. Like I think it's a little scary. I think that's more than anything. It's like, well, this guy's can't even stay on a bad team. Why would we put him on our good team and him mess up some chemistry?
Yeah.
That's the only thing. But I think if he was to play the way we've seen him play, and you just brought him off the bench, it actually wouldn't be that bad.
I think that could be a very interesting pick. I think Golden State could be just desperate for people, and like, Curry's a good scorer, but outside of that, you got Tingus Pingus, but like you're kind of lacking a little bit there. I think Cam Thomas could be interesting in Golden State, but I could also see kind of like a bad team picking him up to give him another chance.
Yeah.
But I don't know. He's kind of got to decide first, I guess.
It's just weird to me that Milwaukee cut it.
It is for me too. I guess I can kind of see the defensive things.
But especially so close to the end of the year.
Yeah, I feel like
they couldn't just let him go on. And I know his manager, or not his manager, his agent said that there wasn't anything going on there. There was like no bad blood between him and Doc Rivers. It wasn't literally anything. They just cut him. And to me, that's weird because like 2 weeks before that, he had a 30-point game. Like you don't just cut that kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he was averaging, like, okay, remember when Malachi Flynn had that 50-point game?
Yeah.
If 2 weeks later he played in 2 more games that had 2 points, you're not cutting him.
Probably not.
So that's just, I mean, obviously 50 is more than 30, but still, it's the same kind of thing. Like he just had a massive game for you 2 weeks before that, and you cut him. There's something going on, and I know the chemistry thing's bad, the defense is bad. He doesn't play as much team basketball as everybody else in the fucking league, but there's got to be something else, dude.
Yeah,
he's got to be some kind of cancer, at least in the locker room.
There's got to be something behind the scenes,
for sure.
Yeah.
Well, can you think of anything else?
I don't have anything else. That ends my segment.
All right. Well, just want you to know if the Spurs ever meet you in the finals, we're putting belt to ass.
I don't know about that. I mean, the Pacers were the underdog their whole playoff run, and they only got taken to 6. One's outside of the finals, so
Spurs have 1 beat.
Pacers
you shrugging your shoulders to Wemby,
Pacers
bro?
beat the Knicks.
You shrug it. They have Brunson, bro. Brunson sucks.
And them Harden and Neesmith only let him score 35, not 40.
Bro, ain't no way that's your argument.
I mean, they beat the Knicks in 6.
Okay.
And you lost to the Knicks in 5.
Yeah, but they had Tom Thibodeau. Not Mike Brown.
Hey, one of the Pacers' 20 wins on the year were the Knicks in New York. Just want to say that.
All right. Well, we're not talking about the Spurs and Pacers anymore. But how was your day, bro?
Not too bad. Mowed some grass. Weed whacked.
Dang, it was one of those days.
Yeah. Pretty light.
I had to help a kid slip and slide.
That sounds amazing. Did you go down the slip and slide?
I got shoved down the slip and slide when I wasn't looking. And I got some free Kona ice. Shit was gas, bro.
I bet.
Yeah, I didn't even want dinner, bro. I had like 3 free ones because I worked
starving.
there. Yeah, I had a lot. Well, I know I had this one little girl. This doesn't matter, but she was a little black girl. Okay, and no. Okay, and she went down the slide, came back up, and I go, kiddo, you need to like get to the back of the line. And she gets behind the person that's next. Like, mind you, this line is like 30 people long. And she gets second in line, and she looks at me and goes, "Is this good enough?" I was like, "No." And like, okay, I say like a little kid. I mean, she wasn't like 6. Like she was like 10 or 12. Like, she's aware. Like, she knows that the back of the line is 30 people down. And she's like, is this good? Like, seriously, dead ass looks me in my face and is like, is this good enough? I'm like, no. Who is your mom teaching you this, bro?
That's interesting, for sure. I need to eat dinner. My dad put pizzas up
That
there,
sounds good, bro.
and then we talked for an hour, so they're probably gone.
They're all gone, bro. Is your dad the only one home?
No, Claire and Mom are up there.
Oh, they are?
Yeah.
Yeah, that is definitely gone. All right. Well, that was a pretty good podcast. Hopefully, we get you back on the pod soon. You go back to school when?
Next Wednesday. So
Next
a week
Wednesday.
from tomorrow.
Shoot. So we could. I mean, we could. If you could do it Tuesday, or we could do the weekend or something.
I could still do it during the school week.
Yeah, I just don't want to overwhelm you. But probably to start the year, it won't be as bad, right?
Yeah, it's kind of what I'm thinking.
All right. Well, I am my finals and stuff tomorrow actually, so I'll be even more free then.
Good luck, champ.
I'm just happy with a D.
Yeah. Hey, D's passing technically.
Exactly. I'm just happy with a D. All right. Well, until next time, we out. Peace.